Yeah, the sound should be good. Okay. Hello, hello. We are in the building, so I'm going live on this video just because I wanted to try something a little different. I doubt there'll be many people here, but I'm sure people will watch the video later. But yeah, I just wanted to see how it feels to just stream it like this, rather than pre-recording the video and then editing it and then uploading it. So just trying this out and seeing how it works and how it feels for me. So I think it's all live here. Yeah, it looks good. So today I want to talk about the story of Noah and the Ark. And this is something I've wanted to speak about for a little while now, ever since I watched this film documentary series called The Days of Noah. And you know what? I feel like I've been listening and watching and hearing so much amazing and good, really activating information recently, and it's just taken me to new heights. So the story of Noah and the Ark, this documentary series is so good, and it started off really quite slow and a bit boring actually, and I was a bit like, but I had it on in the background, and then it was in the second episode it just went, and you know, I guess not many people will have the patience to, you know, really sit down and watch this series. So I just wanted to talk about my understandings from watching it, but also just obviously the story of Noah and the Ark is such a big, you know, deep in our consciousness. The story is really such an activator for so many different times, even in so many different time periods, and I feel like it's so relevant to what's happening at the moment. And yes, I had a vision of this Noah's Ark in an ayahuasca ceremony in 2020. And obviously, you know, I'm doing a whole series on plant medicines now, and the reasons why I and many other people are stepping away and going down a more natural and clear and clean path. So check that series out as well, because it's really, really interesting to hear what other people have got to say about that specific topic. And obviously I don't entertain plant medicines or anything that I deem to be halting my ascension. So anyway, I had a vision, and it was just this flash of just like, you know, Noah and the Ark and this building of the Ark. And I actually had no idea what the story of Noah and the Ark was, just the rough guidelines, you know. I didn't really know much about the details of what really happens. So this documentary film series is amazing because I feel like they break down a lot of like concepts that can be taken from the Bible in a way that's not necessarily what it's meant to be portrayed. And so for me personally, my understanding of the Bible as well is that first of all, there's just a lot of misinformation in there. It's not something that is to be taken literally as fact. And because of that, there seems to be even more misinterpretation of what is actually supposed to be said. However, there is some truth in there. And I feel like this story is quite pertinent. And this is what I would like to just describe. But I'm not religious in that way with following the Bible and, you know, following people. And, you know, my whole understanding and purpose here is so that we may all remember that, you know, we are what we have been waiting for. We are God, that we are this experience of God now, here. You don't need anything else in between. And this is also why the series was so amazing, because it was also just echoing that. And I think a lot of the time, these religious scriptures can take us away from that, and we don't even realize it. It's like highly hidden manipulation, because it says that it's quite indoctrinating, right? And then we might not realizing it, but all of a sudden our power is outside of us. And to me, that's just totally not the point. Do you know what I mean? It's just so not the point. The point is that it's for us to recognize that, you know, who we really are and how powerful we are as well. And that's why it's so important to be able to pick and choose. And I don't mean that in a way where it's like, oh, you just pick and choosing what, like, we have to do that. The point is that we have to do that to realize, so that we can know what is actually real and what isn't, because there's so much that is inverted, changed, manipulated, taking us down a way that is just complete false light, basically, which at the end of the day, it is what it is. And this is what we're living through now. And I feel like this is always what we're living through. So the story goes, and the thing is, you know, this is the sign of the times, and this battle of dark and light. And even in the Noah's Ark story, it's the same kind of concept and the same things. And really, it's this, you know, we have to come to an understanding of why that is taking place, and not, you know, find a way to be at peace, not necessarily get so angry and vilifying and condemning the other side, because that's also not very helpful in terms of our own ascension and progression and evolution. So that's just something to really consider, and I think it's huge for all of us to actually embody and embark on that process. So yeah, I'm here to speak on the story of Noah and the Ark, but yeah, just to emphasize again, you know, this is not about preaching the Bible, and this is not about, you know, saying become religious in any way whatsoever. This is just a story that I have come across, which I feel is really reflective of the times we are living through now. And, you know, some of the stories and fables in the Bible have a purpose, and their reason is really to, you know, help us to understand things in a different way and a bit better. But again, the discernment is really important. So now this story of Noah and Ark. So yeah, so I guess first of all, the story of Noah and the Ark, right? What is it? So yeah, I'm just going to really pick things apart, because, you know, some of the language that is used in the Bible that I see is just complete distortion, I think, in my opinion. It's just like, that doesn't make sense. You know, basically when they say you have to fear God, obviously you can take the word fear and then like try and decide what it's actually trying to say, because maybe it actually means something else, or maybe it's also just implanted in there to help make people feel afraid. But God is not this being that, you know, is supposed to be punishing people. You know, that's a complete lie. And yeah, it's up to you and whenever to realize and come to that understanding whenever you're ready. But, you know, some of the stuff is just like, this does not resonate with me. So anyway, back to the story of Noah and the Ark. So this story is so fascinating. So the story of Noah and the Ark goes back to the time in the Bible, right? And now what happened back then is that Noah was given a message directly from God that said, there's going to be a flood. You need to prepare to be able to save yourself and to save your family. Now, I think that the point of this is not just, you know, to save yourself and to save, you know, specific animals, whatever. The point is that there's a level of awareness to people to get, and there's a progression of the evolution of consciousness, right? So if you are aware of this message from God, then okay, you will trust it and you'll go ahead and you will do it. However, some people, and even some people that Noah was warning and speaking to, didn't have this connection. They didn't have this knowing, this inner knowing. So they didn't believe him, right? They didn't believe the story that he was telling them. And he was actually going out there and telling everyone, saying, we need to prepare. There's a flood coming. I've been told this message, and, I'm creating this ark. And I'm pretty sure the whole point is like, come onto the ark. The doors are open. And obviously nothing was happening at the time that would lead anyone to believe that this was going to be a possibility, that this could actually be real. And so the people he was telling didn't believe him. They just, this guy's crazy, what are you talking about? And why is he saying, like, he's got this message from God? And this is the distortion that comes in when you bring in the ego and all this stuff. It's like, obviously different if we were all alive at that time, but you know what I mean? But he was obviously very sure, because it was clear, the message was clear for him. And so, the story wasn't even necessarily like he closed the doors. I think in the past, I used to think it was like, why did he only save a specific amount of people and animals? But it wasn't necessarily him. He wasn't choosing people. People didn't believe the prophecy and they didn't believe the story. So anyway, it also led to a place where it was really embarrassing, because what happened is that he, so once it was all built and everything, the door closed. So there was a period of time that it was open, and then apparently it automatically closed. And then there was silence, that nothing happened. And I can't remember, I think it might have been 40 days, 40 nights or something like that. But there was a period of time basically where nothing happened. There was no flood, there was no nothing. So, and he was in this ark, locked inside as well, stuck in here. So there was a period of really testing, because he was almost in a way embarrassed by what was happening, because this story that he really, really believed was going to happen, this flood, what didn't happen yet. So I think people were laughing at him on the outside and everything. Next thing you know, the flood arrives, right? And so then, oh yeah, and before this as well, animals got the message as well. Not every animal got the message, but some of them did, and they all entered into the ark. And so then next thing you know, there was a flood, and it was really, really disastrous. And, it wiped out basically a lot of life, and animals, and the animals went to the top of the mountains to try and survive. And so this is basically the story. And, I'm not here debating about whether this is a real story or not. Obviously, there were many floods in our Earth's history, but now I'm just portraying, the analogy and the kind of story behind it and how it's happening in our world now. So then in this docuseries, basically, the guys go on to speak about, other things that are spoken about in the Bible. And there is an understanding that basically the story of Noah and the Ark was something that happened, but then actually the understanding in some of the text is that, the days of Noah is basically the period of time and the framework of what happened during the Noah and the Ark story. And it's going to come back again to the earth in a slightly different way. And then they go on to talk about how it's so interesting, about how there's going to be false doctrine. So there's going to be false gods, and this ties into the concept of the beast machine. and people are going to basically follow the false doctrines, and it's all literally written there. And again, this is like so important for us to understand that just because it's in the Bible, it's just because it's in this ancient text, doesn't necessarily mean that we can just trust it 100%. And, you know, and even what I'm saying now, I'm breaking it down into little understandings and segments of really, really looking at it. So basically, there's a understanding that there's going to be a counterfeit sanctuary here on the earth, counterfeit church, counterfeit God, and then this is what happens. Now, it's clear for a lot of people to really see that this is what's been happening, right? And it is. So I'm just gonna, I took some notes here, so I'm just gonna read from them as well. So basically, Babylon captures the church. So, you know, this idea of Babylon, the city, materialism, ego, power, all of that stuff. And even the concept of the church is not, you know, one thing that's really important to get is that you don't need the church to get to God. And actually, then what ended up happening back in the day is that the truth was altered. And then man stood in between the connection with God. So they created all these churches and basically started showing and saying that someone else needs to interpret the scripture. So we can't even interpret it for ourselves. You know, again, it's like we need to rely on this external authority. And yeah. So then there was the whole idea of the confession booth as well. And then it's like, you know, this man that's sitting in this confession booth acting as God as well. So as you can see, everything was inverted. And these stories as well, in our lives, they don't make so much of a difference. But, you know, I remember growing up and being taught all of this stuff. And in a way, it's kind of like getting into our psyche and we're learning about these things and also accepting them as normal. So it's very interesting. So now basically you had to go through the priest. So there was barriers that were set up between, you know, this human and God, and and our own individual ability to go directly to God was lost. And so again, this is something that happened at the time. So it's like it traveled throughout the ages, and whereas we've got to this case today where this is still the case, you know, even though it might not seem like it's affecting us, it is. You know, we've already come now in this Western society where atheism is so popular, you know, oh God, I don't believe in God. Like we've gone so far past it, and it started in this way where this basically the truth was altered. And it's so interesting, and I'm so happy that this information is coming to the surface and coming to light, because yeah, we just can't just think that this book and the book, you know, you can just read it and that's everything. And we need to really understand that it was manipulated. So many, I think all of the religions were manipulated, literally. So we can't just take it as it is and just accept it. And so much of it doesn't make sense. A lot of it does not make sense. And that's why, you know, it was written by people who were trying to control and to gain control. So yeah, they changed a lot. They changed the time, and they changed law, and they changed God's law, because God's law is basically what we feel natural to us, you know. And, you know, basically God's law, there is no law. God's law is just do not harm and do not, you know, attack, do not cause harm onto others, and, you know, respect the earth. This kind of this natural instinct that you can kind of get. It's not really. So anyway. So, and it did, you know, the Roman Catholic Church is involved with law, and And basically it started from way back in the day, like where we got to today, that we don't even know that these things happened. So they changed lots of things. They changed one of the commandments, the 10th commandment. They cut it in half. They changed the holy day from Sunday or Saturday. It used to be Saturday, I think, and then they changed to Sunday, the Sabbath. All of these things. It's just like, it's literally just like, oh, we're gonna just change it, and we're just gonna do. So it would have definitely been crumbling for anyone who was really following the scriptures properly, to understand that if someone else who's playing God can literally just say, hey, we're just going to change it, obviously it's not real. What's going on? It's a bit suspicious, you know what I mean? So anyway, basically they created this counterfeit covenant, this counterfeit religion, basically. And yes, it's really, really, really interesting. And this happened a long time ago. So what I see now is that it's all wrapped up in this kind of Christianity, and a lot of it is coming from this false light. And it was literally written in the Bible that it was the Babylon captivity of the church. And and it was this counterfeit sanctuary. And so what is so great about this is that it's just another model to understand what's happening in the world now, So if we just take that and apply it to now, because it goes so far deep into, the recesses of our psyche, because it, like I said, it travels through time. And so basically, so basically the story then of Noah and the Ark, and how it's portraying out now, is basically that a similar thing is going to happen again. So we are going to be tested. We are going to be radically tested. And I just wanted to say here as well that, the point is not a case of this is the right path and this is the wrong path, because it doesn't really work like that. I am purely here to anchor in this understanding of who we are and this remembrance of who we are. I know that my purpose here, this is what I'm doing through my podcast, through everything, through the online course and everything, because I am on this journey, and this is the journey that I am, falling even deeper into. And so I'm also here to share that with others. And ultimately, we just are on this process of connecting and reconnecting back to source. And, the way I interpret it now is that we can, source is the all, it's everything. And at the same time, it's also split into different segments and sections and people and souls, so that we can also, so that source and that we can experience ourselves as the all, as everything ever existed, is now, then, here, And so I don't know, I just think sometimes now, especially with what's been happening in the world at the moment, it can be really like intense feelings that come through. This is like, fear, the fear and the anxiety, and did I make the right decision? And, and actually just, I just want to make it clear that at the end of the day, your soul is choosing an experience for yourself to experience itself as source, however that experience may appear and may play out. And this is the understanding of the phrase when people say, we are all playing our roles. Everyone's playing their divine role here. And ultimately, all aspects are part of the divine. A lot of the time, we come out of that remembrance and into forgetfulness, but, you can never separate yourself from source, really. And so, again, it's the understanding of the darkness, because that's where they are. You know what I mean? Because if you had a higher level of awareness and of what's happening, then there's just no way you would be doing that. So a lot of the time we can get ourselves into these places of anger and being annoyed and condemning and pointing fingers. But if you can really come into the understanding of what's really happening and really embodying the oneness of who we are, and the other part of that is to understand that source and this what is perceived as the darkness and the evil is basically part of this divine cosmic play where we come back into the remembrance, but we need the opposite. You know, we need the fear to understand what the love is, because we wouldn't be able to know it unless it was separated, unless we can see them both very clearly. And then that allows us to come into the oneness. So with this understanding, we can really come into harmony and harmonizing all these anxious and angry and misunderstood and confused emotions that we might have about the darkness that we see in the world. And I think that personally, this is so important for any individual on a healing and ascending and evolutionary path. And again, you know, it's not like it's right and wrong. It's just, if that's where you're going, then it's important to really, really, really integrate that. Anyway, I think I'll talk about that a lot anyway, because I think it's so important. It'll probably come up in all sorts of different ways and spaces and videos. But back to the story of Noah and the Ark. And so the other thing as well that's really important about it is, yes, so it's just really important to understand that there was a high level of manipulation going on. The truth was altered. Babylon was coming through the church. And so that was back in the day. Now, fast forward, it's coming through in different ways. And it's not just through the church, but through people, places where you think you can put your trust and authority into. It comes in that way, in this distortion. So what happens now, the same framework of the story of Noah and the Ark takes place, and it's related to the story of this mark of the beast. So, oh yeah, and I just also wanted to mention about the three angels' messages. Again, it's hard to even, because some of the things, yeah. So, and it's just, listen, the angels' messages are here to warn us and make us aware. So the first one, it says, fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth and the sea and the springs of water. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean fear God. That's not my understanding. But I think it literally just means this remembrance, okay? So to me, my understanding of this would be, remember God. God is here. Trust in God. And then, yeah, if you don't, that's obviously a whole different path. Okay, and the second message is fallen is Babylon, with Babylon the Great, she who made all nations drink the wine of the passion. So again, these words, I think they don't quite make the interpretation of what is actually being said. So for me, this interpretation would be, the counterfeit church, the truth that is inverted, and this Babylon. So she who made all nations drink the wine of passion. It's not necessarily passion, and it's not saying passion is bad, but for me, it's again this egoistic nature and forgetfulness. The passion is like this human instinct. So kind of forgetting our higher natures and falling just into the rudimentary, basically, phases of who we are. But not to say passion is rudimentary, because I don't think so. I think that's just the word that is used there, and yeah, I'm not taking it like that. So, and then another angel, a third, followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he also will drink the wine of God's wrath, poured full strength into the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night, these worshippers of the beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of its name. And so, yeah, this one is really, really interesting. Again, this whole concept of like, oh, be careful of God's wrath, and like, yeah, I'm just gonna put a line right through that. I don't resonate, doesn't make sense. It's just fear mongering. It's not needed and it's not necessary. So then I can look into the message and what it's actually really trying to say. So first of all, the mark of the beast, and this is where it gets really interesting and really relative to what's happening now. So the understanding here of worshipping the beast, okay? So again, this beast is this concept of, you know, the Babylon captivity of the church, of, you know, what's real, what's true, of the oneness, of the connection, interconnection, of the purity of source, and the altering of truth, okay? Because, yeah, to see how the beast is playing out now, it's important, okay? So the beast is basically what is standing in between our own connection to God and to remembering who we are. And so basically, the third angel's message is basically saying that there's going to be a moment where there's going to be a choice that one has to make, whether they are going to drink the mark of the beast and receive, whether they are going to receive the mark of the beast, okay? Whoever receives the mark of its name. So, yeah, so that mark is coming from the beast machine, yeah? And yeah, the point is that this beast machine is, yeah, like I was saying now, is the disconnection from what's real and what's true. Okay. And so it says here, if anyone worships a beast in this image, yeah. So you will receive a mark on the forehead and in the hand. And so the interpretation of this part as well isn't literal, because, you know, I know a lot of people are saying, you know, this microchipping and all this kind of stuff, which is a reality that is taking place for sure. But yeah, another interpretation of this would be that the mark in the forehead is that what's going to happen is we're going to have to make a decision in our minds, and then with the hand, it's going to be an action that we're going to have to take with our hands. So it's not actually literal translation, it's a metaphorical concept. Okay. And also the whole concept here, you will drink the wine of God's wrath. I think, again, this isn't like you're going to punish necessarily, in a way, like it's kind of more like you're just going to have to deal with the consequences of what that meant, basically. Because the point is not like God is punishing you for doing that. That's not how it works. This is a free will universe that everyone has a choice to create their reality. You know, this is my understanding of what is real. Now, concept of God being this punisher person that's saying, no, you can do this, and granting wishes, and this is all a complete myth. It's a lie, and it's a lie because the whole point is so that we can experience what it's like to be in complete darkness, so that we can come back into the remembrance. So this is the interpretation, right? And what's so fascinating about the series that I've watched is that they released it in 2019, and it took them years to create this material. And so synchronicities, and 2020 hit, right? And now this is literally my personal interpretation of this story of the days of Noah, right? So basically, at the beginning of the days of Noah, there are these three angels' messages, and they are a warning, to anyone who can listen, to anyone who has their eyes and their hearts and their third eyes open to receive the message. Which, the angels' messages that I read now. So, then 2020 hit, right? And this is my personal interpretation, and I feel like, I think a lot of people will probably resonate with what I'm saying, and it just gives a deeper level of why the story of Noah and the Ark is kind of like important now and what it's saying. And and so basically then where we get to in the story is, so let me start here. What we're experiencing right now is a rapid transformation in consciousness. It's an evolution of consciousness. I know this because it's been something that I've been experiencing firsthand, again, which is why I'm here to share and do what I'm doing. And so if you're not aware, when 2020 hit, and then there's this big disease virus thing that came out, then all of a sudden everyone needs to get the juice. So you need to get the juice, you need to get the juice, you need to get the juice, you need to get the juice. We're going to do all it takes for you to get this. You have to have it. Okay. You need it because this and this. Oh, it's so confusing, it doesn't make sense. But okay, so here I'm going to apply the template of the angels' messages and the mark of the beast and the counterfeit churches. And because this is how it comes out today in today's world and how it's been playing out. Because basically, this doesn't apply to everyone either, but it applies to people who have a deep connection to source. Because a lot of us receive the message, don't drink the juice. And trust your body is powerful. You can heal. You're going to be fine. Don't worry. It's going to be all right. And trust in me, as in trust in God, trust in source. Not as this person who's going to tell you what to do. No. But if you can find the comfort within this something greater than just the individual, if you can find it in the mystery in the all and the everything, if you can really just sink even further into truth, then you're going to be okay on the one hand, right? And then on the other hand, this is how I interpret it. On the other hand, there's human beings here saying, okay, look, whatever happened, it happened. That's what happened. That's all. Whatever reasons, doesn't matter, but it happened. And here's a human being, many human beings saying, okay, listen, in order for you to be okay and to protect yourself and to make sure that you're going to, survive, that you're going to protect your family, all of these things, you need to do this. Okay? And so you need to drink the juice. You need to have something else. And again, this is like the interpretation of the distortion in the scripture and the Babylon captivity of the truth and religion, because basically this again is the same thing. You cannot have a connection. They're saying you can't have the connection with source. You can't trust your body. You can't trust God. You need to take this. We're telling you that you cannot. You need to take this. And so then what happened is that was basically the choice that was presented to all of us, every single one of us here. Obviously in some countries, not so much, but then we had to make the decision, you know? So are we going to worship the beast? Okay, and this is it. This is the beast offering this magic potion. And then this is the, you know, connection to source and trust in the light and the divine unfolding of everything. Obviously the divine unfolding is the divine unfolding, but yeah, and so basically then we all had to make that choice. Are we going to worship the beast? And if you see, you know, what a lot of these people in positions of power speak about this AI and technology, and they really are not hiding it and saying things about there is no God. We're just going to connect the mind. And so the whole point of it is literally to take us away from this. You know, that is the purpose of the beast. That's the whole point. That is the whole point of the beast. So then we all had to make a decision. Are we anyone who worships the beast? So we had to make a choice in our minds and with our hands. Think about it. Are we going to do it? And then are we going to go and make the choice? And then the point as well there is like some people are not going to want to do it. Some people are just going to say no because they know they're trusting, divinely guided, here, done. Others are going to be unsure. Others are going to be reluctant, and they're going to say, I just really didn't want to, but I had to. And that's what we see is played out when a lot of people don't produce. I did it because I had to, because I had to, because I had to, because I had, you know, I've heard that so many times, but ultimate reality of that sentence is that you were manipulated into doing it, but it still was your choice. That was still the choice that you made with the knowledge that you had at that point of time. So listen, it's deep. It's so deep. The story of the days of Noah is amazing. It's I see how it's so relevant now, and there is a darkness to it as well, because Budge, what happens if you worship the beast? And it's not even just like with that one thing. It's now, are you worshiping the beast as we move forward? Do you know what I mean? Like, are you connecting with the real divine light? Because there's counterfeits everywhere. So are you connecting with the real? And the beast is the beast. Do you know what I mean? It's the beast machine. It's the technology. Obviously, not all technology is bad, but like they're manipulating the technology within it, all of this stuff, right? So the question is, what are you doing now and moving forwards? And it's dark. It is dark. Like I can't undermine the power of how dark it is. It's dark. Can't emphasize it enough, you know. And it's difficult because some people don't want to go in there. They don't want to look into that because you have to confront it. But trust is that you can get to a place where you really, really do confront it and get to the level of understanding where you see that all is playing out in this divine way, just so that we can come back into the remembrance of who we are. And that's just where we are now. That's where we are now in our journeys collectively in this process. And this is what's happening because I'm remembering. I'm sharing my remembrance with you. I do that with my poetry, my music, Pathé, podcast, online course, everything. That's what I'm doing. And many of us are remembering. It's not just me. There's so many of us that are remembering. And so, you know, ultimately, as we go further on the journey, we just become more aware of what's happening so that we can make decisions with more awareness, basically, so that we know where we're going rather than just be unclear. So it's dark, it is dark. So I'm going to continue with this. This is turning out to be quite a long video, but is as it is. And so, okay, so basically then the days of Noah, there's the 3 angel messages, and then basically we get to a period of time where people start to realize what's happened. Okay, and again, I feel like we're kind of at the beginning of the stage, to be honest. But people start to realize there was a counterfeit. It was a lie. It was a trick. And to see that the beast is the beast, and recognizing where the beast is leading them before they didn't see it, necessarily. And so what's going to happen, so according to what it says in the Bible, is that there's going to be chaos, and like it makes sense when people start to realize what's going on, that there's going to be chaos. So there's going to be a period of time, first of all, for people to recognize the choices that they made and to change the position if they want to as well. So, I really, really feel like this is what's happening in our world at the moment. So, something happened which forced us all to make a decision and a choice, whether we were going to choose the light, choose remembrance, choose God, choose ourselves, choose trust, or whether we were going to outsource our power. And a way in outsourcing our power, again, is trusting somebody outside of ourselves. So that's also really important to acknowledge, because these people in places of power are setting out rules and all sorts of things, saying, trust me, you should do this, drink the juice, trust us. And in that way, a lot of people went against their intuition, because I know people who did that. And again, this is not me condemning anyone, this is just me speaking it out in a completely neutral way of the way that I see things happening at the moment. So, so then there's this whole place of like, outsourcing that power. Again, the same thing that happened with religion, someone standing in between you, these people in places of power saying, you need to do this. But I know so many of us, other people recognize that doesn't feel right, and I'm going to trust my internal guidance system, So, a lot of people were tricked into doing it and followed the beast. Again, this trusting somebody else, trusting the somebody else thing. And the whole thing about finding our connection to source is that it's not outside of you. That God is not this person in the sky, in the heaven, and whatever. It's inside. It's deeply profound inner journey. So we were all posed with that position, and all that question means is that there are going to be specific consequences for the result of our actions. And this is not the punishment of a being, this is just the cause and effect, And so then we have to re-understand the beast and where they're taking us and what they're trying to do, so that we can fully know what we want to choose. But ultimately, we choose that, which is a high level of distortion. And basically, the path is the separation from ourselves and from our souls. And they're trying so hard to take us away. But in the process of them doing that, we have the dichotomy on the other side of so many of us to be able to see it clearly, that darkness, and rise into our light and into our power, and rise into our remembrance of this source, of remembering who we are. And in any moment, you can decide what you want to experience. And obviously, we need the darkness. We need this so-called evil. We need them. We need them so that we can be reflected through them, so that in their actions we can see so clearly who we are. So there's no need for the condemnation of this darkness or anything. This is really this bigger picture. So, and the people who have decided to experience themselves as that and the people who decided to experience the mark of the beast and following the beast as well, and falling even further into the separation, a perceived separation. So many people, as we have seen, many people fell into that path unconsciously, unaware. And obviously, a lot of them are going to come into recognition of what's taking place and what's been happening and where that path has taken them, and the outsourcing of the power, remembering that they are here to experience themselves, remembering that this whole process of the awakening is about finding your sovereignty. It's about relying on yourself. It's about finding that deep, deep, deep power where you're not being manipulated by this government and this religion or society or social expectations or anything like that. And to really, it's just calling the warrior within each and every single one of us. So some people will come into that recognition. People are going to be angry and they're going to turn against these people in charge. And I feel like, I don't think that's quite happened yet. And obviously some people are going to play oblivious to the whole thing. Some people can't handle it from their level of awareness where they are now. P.S. If you need support, check out my online course, because honestly, it will help you. And yeah, some people have chosen not to see it. They've just, so it's all good. But basically, there'll come a point where the days of probation close. And when you've made that decision, that's the decision you've made, it's the path you've chosen. We're all playing our divine roles. And then after that, there's the 7 deadly plagues, which it doesn't come out as a flood like the same time as Noah and the ark. It comes out as this internal fire in the earth, and so it comes both, it's water and fire, and it's all sorts of things. So apparently there's going to be sores all over their bodies, oceans turn into blood, all souls in the ocean would die. This Bible is really accentuating things in a really fearful way. As you can see, fountains and rivers are going to be dried up, the sun was scorched all the vegetation, and scorch us with heat, and kingdoms will be filled with darkness. And I feel like this is happening in some ways. Climate and things are happening in specific parts of the world, but the point as well of this is that people basically who drank the juice and followed the mark of the beast are the ones who are going to be succumbed to these 7 deadly plagues. And I mean, listen, this isn't because they're going to be punished. This is because of the intention of the beast and the people in power who are playing this role of the mark of the beast, right? This is their intention. This is the false light. This is where the truth was altered, and some people fell into it unconsciously, accidentally. Were at this level where they couldn't quite recognize the outsourcing of the power, so they just fell in. And so, listen, we are already seeing that now. It's obvious to many of us. It's coming more into other people's awareness now, but like the sudden death, and we all know that is because of the juice, and this is not something to be afraid of. The remembrance is just knowing that your path is your path, and you chose this experience, so it's fine. When you die, you don't die and just go, that's the end of it. Your soul continues to evolve. You continue to play in this cosmic dance, and you continue into another expression of, and there's so many different avenues. It's not linear, it's not one or the other, so yeah, because I think a lot of the time with these stories, there's been a lot of fear, perpetuating fear. Oh, be careful, you're gonna and I mean, listen, naturally, if you did drink the juice, you probably will be feeling fear, but at the end of the day, if you recognize the beast for what it is, you can change your decision, you can change your mind, and you can come back into the remembrance if you want to. So that's the important thing to remember. You can still empower yourself. So anyway, multitudes will turn on their religious leaders and their leaders, political leaders, people in power. I remember watching this video of this priest, and he was saying the same thing. Like, he was really exaggerating it, but obviously because he's read it in the Bible like in this way, and it's like people are going to be angry, and I don't think we've kind of yet got to that point. I think that 2023 and now as well into 2022, there's been a lot of stuff coming to the surface. There's been a lot of clear synchronicities and signs to see what's happening to people who did drink the juice. And, you know, some people have been okay. Some people are going to be okay. They're going to be okay. You know, there's so many different levels and avenues to it. Some people needed to do it in order for them to come back into the remembrance and come back into recognizing, you know, and this is literally it. This is my interpretation of what's happening. There's no judgment here. This is how I understand it. And I'm just saying it very plainly and clearly what path you chose and what you're doing, what your role is, so that you can reflect and to see where you are and where you're going and what you can do moving forwards, you know? So, you know, the fear is so important because this is how they manipulate and control people. This is how the beast gets you. It's through fear. And it's so important that you find a way to confront your darkness. This is the shadow work that's required of all of us. Find a way to confront your darkness, to sit in it and be comfortable with it, so that you will know when it appears in your face as the false light, when it appears trying to manipulate you, so that you won't be erratically controlled with these emotions. And it's so important to be able to really welcome all of your emotions and allow yourself to come into a place of just being able to navigate it, so that your emotions aren't controlling you and through someone else controlling you, you know. This is the emotions are the most important, potent work that we can do right now during this period of time. So yeah, and then right at the end, basically there will be a voice at the temple of heaven in the air saying, "It is done." Earthquake, thunders, hail. And then during this process, so I've just spoken about the beast, the people who haven't decided to drink the juice, follow the beast, are basically going to be tested. Their trust is going to be tested the same way that it was tested with Noah when the doors closed and nothing happened. The same thing is going to be here. So there's like this deepening of that connection to source and really, really trusting and believing and knowing. It's not even that, and embodying. That's the important part as well. That. So they're going to be tested, and obviously they're going to be humiliated and blamed, and all these other things are going to be tested in all these ways. And this is the rising of the powerful warrior. And again, this remembrance, because the remembrance is into expansion, it's into the enlightenment, it's into powerful. And the enlightenment, again, is this word that's been manipulated to make thinking that it's only possible for a few people. It's not true. It's all of us. And this is, again, the remembrance. It's us, all of us. We are. We've been told we're not, but we are. We are so powerful. And so, yeah, so they're going to be tested, but basically they're going to be protected through their connection to source from these things that happen. And the way I see that now is that because they didn't drink the juice, they're not going to have the effects of the juice. Like, literally, that's the translation. Okay, and then yeah, there will be different realities for different people. It's not linear, it's not black and white. And then there's this concept of the second coming of Christ, basically. And again, it's not like this person's going to appear in the sky and it's going to... The point is that basically, also this thing about sin never resonated with me, didn't make sense. But the clearing of our trauma and our shadows, basically through the earth, there's going to be light, which there already is, coming in so that we can heal ourselves, purge, and then basically prepare ourselves to go to the next stage of our evolution, which is going to be this new Earth. And then obviously there's a whole different timeline for people who will still be following, because there's still going to be people who don't see any of this, and they're outsourcing the power, and they've been in this mass manipulation and from the freaking Babylon captivity of the church from way back. Yeah, so they're going to be going down that path of literally choosing. They're going to choose it for themselves, like as if they really want it. And so this is when people now are starting saying there's this bifurcation. So there's people who are really choosing that timeline, and then there's people who are also choosing the new Earth. Obviously, this one is ascending, and then this one is kind of like descending. But again, there's not a case of like this is the good one, and a lot of the time it does feel like that. It could feel like that. The concept of like the good emotions and then the bad emotions, but it's not really like that. We need both to play out at the same time so that this process of the remembrance and evolution can happen. So, you know, even though it seems like this is like dark, and I mean, in a 3D way, it is very much so. And then it's like, oh, this is going to the good place. It's very interesting. Like in a 3D sense, that is exactly it. But from a different level of awareness, it just is as it is, and it's just playing out the way it is because we are here experiencing ourselves as source, and each in their own way and in their own role. And obviously for a lot of us who have chosen this ascension timeline, it's very exciting, it's very energizing, it's very warming to know that we're going home basically, and we're going back into this remembrance. Like, you know, it's not to say that we're going to be there forever, but just where we are now. Because if you stay there for a long time, then you don't come into this. But naturally, you get into this forgetfulness. So it's like, this is what I'm learning. Is it's like funny little cosmic play, like the cosmic dance. That's why they call it the cosmic dance. So interesting. So yeah, and again, just this whole thing of like the second resurrection of Jesus Christ, and this is, you know, so many things that came in the story of the days of Noah, things that I've heard in many different ways. So for me, it cemented like, boom, I know exactly what this is saying, and I got the vision, you know. So the point about Jesus, again, it's not like this person. To me, I've really interpreted Jesus as this consciousness field, this energy. It's not like, and that's like literally even him as a being, as you know, as he was back then, like from coming from such a higher level of consciousness as he was, even that high level of consciousness is like this radiant energy, you know, that's just how you are, you know, when you manage to anchor in those higher states, basically. And so what it is it's like this basically opening for these levels of consciousness to be activated in us. And just FYI, the beast is like trying to take us away from that, because this is what's happening. It's been predicted, it's in the Bible, it's in the Hopi prophecy, it's in all these ancient tribal prophecies. They've known about this time that's been coming for ages, the Kali Yuga, moving into the golden age, whatever you want to call it. So you know, the beings of this dark nature are trying to take us away from that, because they're living in a different model of reality, and it's a low level of consciousness. Obviously, it just is. So when drinking the juice and following that, basically, in a way, it is stopping us from being able to receive this divine energy, the light consciousness energy that's coming through. So that's why it's really important to, if you are waking up, to realizing what's going on, whatever you've done in that section, detox, get this out of your system. It's the freaking beast. It's AI technology that is not of high purpose. It's of this, you know, but again, if that's what you came here to experience, and that's what you came to experience, and you know, but obviously I'm here to ground in and implement this light and this, you know, as I've said already, the remembrance, because this is what I'm experiencing, this is what I'm here for. So yeah, the journey continues. It's going to be it's going to be amazing. It's going to be difficult. We're all being tested right now, but yeah, we will be tested, and ultimately this just like it's the destruction of even people that are close to us who've chosen a different path, and coming back to soul family, soul tribe, and finding different and new models and ways of existing on this earth that are more conducive to us and the environment and the earth and all that kind of stuff, all that good stuff as well. So yeah, this is it really. That's the story of Noah, the days of Noah, the Noah and the Ark. He was basically a big messenger. He was a messenger to people, and a lot of people didn't listen to him. And I know a lot of us felt like that during this time, like telling people, don't do it. And so many people just went and did it anyway, and that's what happened in the days of Noah. No one believed him, and then there was this huge flood, and yeah, it's just how it is happening. It's just how it's playing out. So, but I'd like to end on just saying that there is an importance in being grateful for those souls who have chosen to embody this machine and take away this, you know, plant this AI technology to stop us from the ascension, because without them, you know, we wouldn't be able to be playing our roles in the remembrance, and we wouldn't be able to go back into the light. And it's so fascinating, because ultimately this is the dance. This is the ultimate dance that we do over and over and over. But anyway, that's all up to you to decide. Maybe you can maybe believe that actually you can come out of that, and ultimately there's so many lives we live, with so many choices, and we can choose where we're going. And even with the ascension, I feel like some of us are going to be going to all different sorts of places, you know, but yeah, this is just my interpretation of the days of Noah and that story and how important it is now. Obviously, take what you want from it. Not all of it is going to resonate. It's up to you to discern, because at the end of the day, it's your life, and you are creating your experience of your life. So yeah, and obviously it's totally fine if it doesn't resonate for you. You know, do what you need to do, and that's fine. And if it causes like such deep reflection that's triggering, yeah, I'd like to just say, look into that and feel what that is, because, you know, triggering, you can unpack it and really discern and see what's really going on inside. So yeah, that's the story. Thank you for listening. That's quite a long video there, wasn't it? Yeah, long video. Yeah, so thank you for listening, and I hope that you find reflections within this story to help you through this period of time. And yeah, just trust yourself, know that whatever path you've chosen, it's all going to be good. It's all right, you know. The fear mongering is something that we really do not need to ingest and like hold in our bodies. We don't, you know, all you have to do is that I do not consent. Yeah, it's not needed, and it's not really helpful, but it's how the manipulation takes place. So this is the process of us becoming more aware of what's happening, and there's so much to this specific period of time, and yeah, ultimately just pay attention. Yeah, pay attention. But again, like I said, it's not like yeah, it's not like things need to be this one way. There's just a group of us, groups of us choosing specific paths, choosing together, you know, specific different paths. So yeah, that's it. The Noah and the Ark, amazing story, and I'm grateful for the reflection that I received in this story as well, and the protection of the Ark as well. Like, yeah, that's what we're doing now, creating the Ark in so many different ways, and the journey runs deep. So also just wanted to, yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And then just wanted to mention this online course that I created. I really, really recommend it because I feel like sometimes when we're here in the 3D, we can kind of get a bit lost and forget how to be human, like the denser parts. And this foundation is so important. And with what's happening in the world, it's like chaos, and it's the rapture, it's everywhere, it's all over the place. So really, it's important that we find the grounding, and we can do that. We can do the work, we can find a way to live with less suffering. All of this stuff is possible. So yeah, do check it. Awakening 101, a ninja's guide to navigating a spiritual awakening. And it's really just that process of building strong foundations so that we can handle everything and anything, handle all, stand into our power. And you know, this real, that's why I called it a ninja's guide, because it's like literally becoming a ninja with the emotions, with handling things, you know, this strength and this power that's not physical. So yeah, do check it out from the website www.pathway.one. And yeah, thank you again. Until next time, check out the podcast and the other course, other series on the other side of psychoactive plant medicines as well. Exciting stuff. Blessings. Thank you so much.